This is what a book slump looks like. The overwhelming feeling of being surrounded by books but having no inclination to read them. Okay, I know that's dramatic, but stick with me for the sake of the intro. Let's start from the beginning, shall we? All the way back in May, I started the month quickly realizing that I had no want to pick up a book. And then we got to halfway through the month, and I realized that I hadn't even read a single book. No biggie, I was about to go on a vacation where my only plan was to just sit on the beach and read. Except I didn't want to do it then either. And that is when it set in. I was in a book slump. And what do you do when you figure out you're in a book slump, ladies and gentlemen? You get out of it. That's when the mission to get out of a book slump started and this video idea was born, except I lost all of the footage of the beginning and kind of some of the middle of today's video, so we're gonna pick it up somewhere in the middle. Hello guys, I'm coming at you from kind of like a spooky angle. This is kind of giving fall vibe, the ambiance in the back. It is currently June 5th when I'm filming this update, and the last time that I picked up a book, I think it was like the last day or so of May, and that was when I read the rom-commers, and I read that literally in one sitting. Here's some updates. I was gone this weekend, and while I was gone, I brought some books with me. I picked up and started reading The Ministry of Time. I got to page 33 of this book, and I only stopped reading this book because I quite literally fell asleep. Then after that, I just never picked it back up. I was on a plane, and I don't like reading like actual physical books on planes. Well, I don't like reading hardcovers because in my brain, they take up so much space. I'm scared that I'm taking up too much space, even though I'm literally sitting with people that I know. So I was picking up my Kindle in between like awkward time moments when I was like waiting. And so I actually started reading Heartless Hunter, which is, I feel like last year around this time, everybody was talking about fourth wing this and fourth wing that. And now I literally in my Patreon, everybody was talking about how they wanted Heartless Hunter to be one of the options for June's book pick, and I was like, I've never even heard anybody talk about this book. I swear after that I click on Rachel's video and she either put it on her TBR or Reddit, and then Sarah was talking about it, and then I started seeing it everywhere. Is this going to be the next fourth wing? I am only 10% into it right now, which leads me into this point. I don't know if I am in a book slump at this point, because when I actually sat down to read and read the rom-commers, I literally finished it in one sitting. Didn't feel like I wanted to be on my phone. And when I was in my book slump throughout the whole entire month of May, and even previous book slumps, I get on my phone, I don't want to be on it. Reading doesn't even sound appealing to me. But reading, I want to read, I think it's more of a time thing. So I want to test it out with at least one more book and see if I sit down with a book and just try to read for a long period of time and finish the book and have a positive reaction towards it like I did the rom-commers. That book was almost a 5-star for me. Then I feel like I'll know I'm out of the book slump. Complete side note, I barely drank any water while I was gone. Oh my gosh, I don't travel with cups. This is a complete side note, nothing to do with the video. I don't travel with cups like this, and I swear I rely on these things to get my water intake. So I barely had any water the past almost week. So I've been trying to chug water. Back to editing, and then I'm gonna try to pick back up Heartless Hunter. Here with a little bit of an update. I feel like every single one of my updates are the same, in which I tell everybody I do not know what is going on. I'm now 30% into Heartless Hunter. I'm about to call it Crimson Moth because I'm pretty sure that is the book that Rachel was reading, and she did her whole entire book club with it. It's called Crimson Moth over there, but here it's called Heartless Hunter, but now I keep on calling it Crimson Moth. I'm 30% into it, and I'm very interested. I just wish we would get somewhere. We are 30% into the book, so literally I'm close to halfway through, and we've been introduced to the plot, the problem, you know, everything of what we need to do, and we stay stagnant for a full 10% in one scene. One scene, we're spending 10% of a book in one scene, and it's not really building up anything. And I just find myself we're spending so much time in one setting and one thing to do one thing, and it's not a big thing. It's not it's a, you know, sometimes in fantasies where, yeah, maybe you spend 20-25% in kind of one setting, but it's because you have this big mission, you know, maybe you have a big mission you're trying to do, and it's not bad. It is not a bad book. I find myself entertained, intrigued, but then I look up and I look down and I'm okay, well now I'm 30% through the book and I feel we have gotten nowhere. We're at the same place that we were when we started the book. There's been no further, what is that word? What am I trying to say? We haven't furthered the story in any way. That's my thoughts on this so far. I truly want to finish it though, because I do see so much potential in the story if it starts picking up. I do feel like we're moving on from it though now. Like, I feel like the story's gonna continue to go. Today, I'm like I'm down bad. It is atrocious how much I do not feel good, and I'm just now kind of like picking up the books. I've been in and out of sleep, but even like yesterday and for the past few days, I've been like, okay, I'm gonna make time for reading, and then I get on social media. Oh, I don't know what's going on. This is like going on the second month of being in a book slump. I don't know, because now I'm really intrigued, because maybe is it the book? Like, could I be out of the book slump but it's just the book that's holding me back? Because I don't know. Like I said though, this is not a bad book. I'm having a good time. I just wish that we would like, you know, like get going. I have the update of the century, literally. This is an amazing update. Last night I stayed up and finished Heartless Hunter and ended up giving it a 4 stars. Before this, I sat down and read the rom-commers in one sitting and gave this a 4.5, 4.75, somewhere around there. And then once I started reading this yesterday, and I think I got to I can't remember where I was. Was I like 30, 40-ish% into this book? I think when I last like sat down and did a clip. And then after that, I read some of it on the treadmill, sat down and finished the book. So I finished like 70% of the book in one sitting. Like, didn't want to get up. I was very intrigued by it. Really liked the story and what was happening. Finished this one and gave it a 4. Finished this one one sitting and gave it a 4.5 to 4.75. So this is where I'm very intrigued with this book slump. Obviously, when I get the time to sit down and read the book, I'm enjoying the book. Half the time, I can't even get myself to pick up the book to read it. Very interesting spot that we're in. But I don't think I can finish this video here. I don't think I can. I think that we have to do at least 1 to 2 more books. First of all, you may be asking my thoughts on Heartless Hunter, and I will say that I did really enjoy this one. I didn't know for sure, but the other day when I went to Barnes looking for the physical copy of this book, I had a suspicion that it was young adult. Nobody ever like told me it was young adult. I didn't know it was, but I went in there and I found it in the young adult section. I shall say that I was very surprised that this book was young adult. From some of the descriptions of what happens violently to some of the spice in the book, I was very surprised. Not saying that it was like super overly that, but I was very surprised by, in a young adult book, the descriptions and stuff. It wasn't on a like extreme level, but it was a little bit more than I thought would be included. So just knowing that going into this. Other than that, I really liked the storyline, and I liked the enemies to lovers and how I feel like it kept on reestablishing itself throughout the entirety of the book, where I feel like sometimes you start off a fantasy and it's like enemies to lovers, but then you lose that like halfway through. I really like in a book or in a series when we kind of keep that same energy. It kind of reminded me of Dance of Thieves duology. This is also only a duology. I think the second book comes out in August. I was under the impression that both of the books were already out, but they're not. But it was really good, and I feel like it wasn't too much fantasy, because I was kind of nervous to go into this, because I definitely wouldn't say I'm in like a high stakes fantasy mood, and I wouldn't call this a high stakes fantasy at all. You're kind of introduced to the problem, and I feel like you don't even try to solve it throughout most of the book. Honestly, I feel like we didn't even really focus on the problem for a majority of the book. I feel like we were talking about the problem, but we weren't focusing on it, but we kept talking about it. Other than that, really liked it. These are the mood reads. I know that you guys are seeing this big, thick one, and you guys are like, oh, Destiny, you're gonna take that on right now? No. That is 11/22/63. Where I would find time within this month to read this book, I don't know, but I just kind of have it on here because I've just been, recently this has been in the forefront of my brain to read it, and sometimes you just need to read a book that you're thinking about. The other day I did start The Ministry of Time, and it looks like I got to about 33 pages into the book, and I was enjoying it. I think that the premise of this book is just so unique, and I really like how it just kind of throws you into it, and it's not too complicated. Like, you kind of get where you're at. My hair is not hairing today. Anyway, started this the other day, but then Annabelle Monaghan came out with another book, Summer Romance, and so obviously I'm really into this author right now. I read 2 of her books in April, and they were over 4-star. I just feel like she gets it. I feel like the formula that she has to, have I already talked about this book in this video? Wanting to read this? Have I already spoke about this and said these same exact words? I don't know. This is on here. My only thing that's keeping me from like is because I feel like I would really like to read this by like the pool or like outside while I'm laying out. I feel like this is that type of book, and today is not that type of day. It's not even warm enough for that outside. So I think I may try to continue the Ministry of Time and see where we get with it, and then maybe we'll try to go into Powerful. We're taking all of these over here to my nightstand to hold because these are the books that I am into right now. So like I said, I do think I'm just going to try to continue the Ministry of Time. Last night after I finished Heartless Hunter, it was, by the way, 2 o'clock in the morning. I was like, ooh, let me get into another book. First of all, girl, go to bed. You know what I mean? Go to bed. There's very few feelings better than the feeling of finishing a book when you're in a book slump. The high that you feel after you finish a book being in a book slump, you feel unstoppable. Like you could take on the world. Isn't that literally the lyrics from Girl Meets World? I feel alright, I'm gonna take on the world. Now I have to look that up. I feel like novellas are really good for when you're in a book slump because since they're a lot shorter than a regular book, you feel so accomplished finishing it. Also might do that. Okay, so I've just repeated myself. I've just went round and around and around and around. Anyway, I'm gonna get to reading. I am 100 pages into the Ministry of Time. My thoughts so far is that I think that this writing is so unique and so good. Sometimes it's really refreshing to pick up a book that genuinely, you know, people are picking up for the writing, the messaging, and the overall everything of the book. I was a little confused because I feel like it's taken me honestly quite a while of like actually reading to get to the 100-page mark, which I feel like is always like a thing that everybody's like, I'm 100 pages into this book. I don't know why we all universally do that. Not the point. Maybe because this book does take more brain power, obviously. We're getting 100 pages into a book like this versus 100 pages into like a rom-com, very different. The writing in this book specifically is what is really charming me about it, is because you can just tell, you can tell the different techniques that the author is using. I don't know how to put it into words, and I wish that I did. I wish I was a lot more eloquent about how to tell you guys about the writing in this book. The way that I could describe it is like, even the author will write something that like the character notices, put it into like this lesson, but then the way that she'll end off like a sub-paragraph or even just a sentence or the chapter, and it leaves you reeling and thinking about what it meant. You know, you have to look deeper into what this is meaning and what it's saying. Just the premise of this book as well, I think, is very interesting. Basically, if you guys don't know, you're following our main character. She works at this place that basically they're forming this experiment of sorts where they have figured out time travel, and they go back in time and they take a person from history and bring them into modern day England and have these people working at this place be their bridges to help them go into everyday society and kind of teach them about nowadays, and they're basically using it as a big experiment for time travel. I thought that that premise was super intriguing and interesting, and even reading it has been. But I will admit, yes, I understand why it's taking me so long to get to the 100 pages, but I was a little bit like, okay, is this what this book is? Like, is the whole entire book going to be a bunch of different circumstances of her teaching this man, because she's assigned to one of them, obviously? Is it just her teaching this man a bunch of different things about modern day? And that's what it is. But right as I was thinking this, and I was like, okay, I'll get to the 100-page mark and I'll do the update. Right at the 100-page mark, you kind of start to feel the storyline shift a little bit. Like, you can tell that the storyline is going to take a turn. I'm very intrigued to see where we're going to go with it, because I do think that I had honestly a really good time reading up until now. I was just kind of like, okay, are we going to get any more of the story, or is it kind of more of like a slow pace? This is kind of like teaching people and like commentary on modern day and commentary on a bunch of different types of things. I feel like there's so many lessons that are just interweaved, that are woven. That are interweaved. Can you use either of those into this book? But I do think that we are about to do a little bit of a jump into the storyline, and I feel like it's gonna get a little interesting from here. I'm feeling kind of like conspiracy vibes, like we're going to take a direct turn. Also, I wanted to say that Emily Henry, I think I said this when talking about the book, but she recently was in an interview and recommended everybody this book, and she also has a blurb on the back. I was about to say, it makes a lot of sense because this kind of gives you a sci-fi vibe, like well, it is science fiction, but it gives you that. And I'm pretty sure like Emily Henry, at least one of her like earliest works is like a sci-fi book, so it kind of makes sense that she would really like a book like this. Like, it makes a lot of sense to me. I'm about to eat dinner and continue reading this book. Update. It's 11 o'clock at night now. I just finished the Ministry of Time. I think I was like not even 50 pages, no, I was on page 33 of this book when I sat down and started reading it today. Finish it. So I think it's safe to say that I may be out of my reading slump. What has happened when I picked up a book and decided to read it is that I finish it in kind of, you know, like one sitting. Like I finish it within the day. I think we're not in a slump anymore, mainly because, as I said and stated that I finished this book, I am going to give it a 4.5 stars. And I know that usually I sit on my rating, but honestly, this book was so thought-provoking and I just knew the whole entire time that we were like a 4-star or above. The way that this book ends off, like the ending of the book, blew my mind. The turns that we take through the story, there's so many different things to have commentary on within the characters that you learn, and they tug at your heart, and the writing is so, the quotes that come out of this book, the writing is genuinely exquisite. I do not know if this author has any other books. If this was a debut novel, I would be literally on the floor because the writing was so amazing and just profound. The quotes that come out of this book, I kid you not, there were so many times, and usually right when you're ending either a chapter or a paragraph, they would put in these quotes. I would read them literally like 5 to 10 times, and I would just sit there in astonishment of the quote that was written. Like, it was so good that I was just sitting there and I was like, wow. Also, I would say the romance subplot that is in this is so good and heartwarming, and you fall in love with just the sense of it and just how different it is, and the backdrop of the story and the high stakes of it all. Like, we get wild, okay, in this book. I did not know. I went into this book with 0 expectations, and that's how I would recommend you guys going into this book. I really just knew what I had told you guys, that it's kind of time travel-esque, and they take these people from different time periods and they help them whatever. It was so good, and I would recommend you guys to pick this up, please. It's such a profound piece of work. I think it could shape up to be one of the best books of 2024, and I am not kidding. Even see myself just sitting and thinking about this and it become a 5 stars by the end of the month, because I literally, as I was reading it, I was like, ooh, I wish I would have annotated it. As I was reading it, I was like, you know what, I want to reread this and annotate it. Like, these lines are so beautiful, and to just really look in the book and look at the clue that was going on within the story. Obviously, this is my recommendation of The Ministry of Time. After my experience reading all of these, not to keep on recounting them for you, but when I read the rom-comers, literally read it in one sitting, did not get up, gave it a really high rating. This one, I had a little bit of a tougher time getting into, but once I had actually got into the story, could not put it down. Rated that highly as well. And then you guys just heard me rave about this one. I read all 3 of these within the week. I feel like going from reading 3 of these and actually reading 2 of these within literally a day, within the 24 hours of each other. It's literally been less than 24 hours since I finished this book. I feel very good about being out of my book slump. I now am very excited for the rest of the month and just making sure that I was out of it before going into other books that I'm very excited to read. Obviously, I was excited to read all of these as well. Wow. I feel like I'm very happy with it too, because the books that I have picked up trying to get out of this slump literally have been a 4 and above. So I feel like that's really good, because I feel like for the first half of the year, I was kind of struggling finding books that I really enjoyed. And I feel like, I don't know, I've just gotten really lucky with these. Was I wearing this shirt last year in this video? I have a far away recollection of wearing this shirt when I did this video last year. I hope you guys enjoyed watching me realize I'm in a book slump and then slowly but surely get out of it. I think literally by the time that I kind of came to terms with that I was in a book slump, and now it was literally like 2-3 weeks of me like trying to get out of it. So hopefully you guys enjoyed. Please pick up any of these books that I read in today's video. I would recommend all of them. Here's to a really good reading month and to some more reading videos coming out soon. If you guys like this video, you guys know what to do. Like, comment, subscribe, all the YouTube stuff you guys know to do, and I will see you guys when I see ya. Peace.